Firstly, domain age. It's a thing about 2 years ago where some cunning spammers, and they generally are cunning, we hate them but they're cunning, many of them created software, and you could, at one point it's become harder to do, but you could register a domain and only pay for it a week later. So what they were doing is they were registering domains literally by the hundreds of thousands, grabbing content off the web, building sites all automatically, building sites onto those domains, putting AdSense ads, Google AdSense ads on those sites, getting traffic from the search engine, sending it out via AdSense and earning revenue from that. Now, and then basically testing, what could they make in 6 days? And then either dropping the domain and dropping the site or buying it and carrying on. Bearing in mind that it costs $7 to buy a domain, it is quite cost effective. To counter this, Google started placing far less importance on new domains. So if you've got a brand spanking new domain that you bought tomorrow and you put a site up, chances are you'll be invisible for 6 months. So my advice is that if you know you need to launch a site in 6 months' time, buy the domain now. Put up a page of content on that domain now that has got the keywords that you will need to optimize that site for. Send a few links into that one page, that's all you need, and Google will follow those links, hopefully. And index the page, see what it's about, and then it'll just know, hey, this. And then when you launch 6 months later, you don't have to go through 6 months of obsolescence while they try and figure out what you're all about. So just get yourself into the index as soon as possible. Linking to new sites, the faster you build the links, the better. There is obviously a counter to that. If you build the links too quickly, it can be picked up as spam and you'll get penalized. But you definitely want to be building links as fast as possible into a new domain. I've talked about fresh content. I think that's one of the 3 reasons why blogs rank so well on search engines. They've got fresh content, which Google loves. I mean, ask yourself the question, if someone types in purple rhinoceros. If there's a site that hasn't been updated in 2 years, and some guy wrote a blog post about purple rhinoceroses yesterday, where they're likely to send the visitor, it stands to reason that the more fresh site is going to have the better content, so they'll send the traffic there. Key phrases in your URLs. I mean, you've got to find a balance here. If there's 2 sites, one site is called coronabeer.com, and the other one's called beer.com, and someone searches for Corona Beer, where's Google likely to send the visitor? To the more specific site. So ideally you want your primary key phrase in your domain, but I would say definitely favor usability and word of mouth spreadability over a ridiculously long keyword rich domain. You want to make sure that someone can, hey Joe, this is my domain, you're going to remember it, not, oh, my domain is corona-beer-extra-.co.za, and she's already gone somewhere else. But yeah, in the key phrases as well, sorry, in the page names as well, if you can get the key phrases in there, it's just sending a message to Google, this is what the site is about. Text navigation, often, search engines can't read images, try as they might, and so you want them to read your navigation, because navigation is telling Google that this section of the site is about this. It's very important. If you have graphical navigation, they can't read that and they don't know what the page is about. Okay, viral marketing. I roughly split viral marketing into 2 sides. What I call controlled viral marketing, which I think is kind of on the wane, and this is the best example is your typical send to a friend, friend get friend email. Now, I remember doing these campaigns 6, 7 years ago, and they were so successful. Although I tell you what, a funny one, the Johnny Walker campaign. I told the client it was going to fail, and it totally did so well. It was amazing. Better the other way than the other way around, I guess. But all they gave away as a prize was a case of whiskey, and I thought, who on earth is going to want a case of whiskey?
You said 30 minutes. That was the time you started.
Oh, wait, we're back. So anyway, so I break it up into 2 sides. The reason why I call this controlled is because you can see how many people you've sent to, you see how many emails have been passed on, you can really control it. And what that control means is you can measure it, you can test it, but also you can tweak it where it's needed. So if you find that it's not going as fast as you want, you can maybe send out another email to build up a momentum. But I think that this has suffered from attention span. Yeah, people just get so many of these, and we actually don't really do them anymore. But I think they still have a place in the right circumstance. The other side is what I refer to as in the wild, and this is what's becoming more popular. Now, with controlled viral marketing, you can you can estimate a certain success. If you've got a database of 10,000, taking it up to 13,000 with a decent viral campaign is not that hard. But taking it up to 200,000 is exceptionally difficult. You have to have such a good incentive. And let me say that the best incentives are not prizes. The best incentives are social incentives. People inherently want to be liked by other people. Online reputation management, I'm not going to touch on too much. I think many people have heard me waffle on about this. But in a nutshell, what it is monitoring your brand online, measuring what people are saying about you, and then taking actions. Now, a lot of people will talk about online reputation management as limiting risk and kind of squashing negativity. And yes, that is a big part of it. Certainly, if you can stop a negative message from spreading before it spreads, you will save a lot of effort. But I think actually the real opportunity with online reputation management is on the other side, it's on the positive side. Give you a perfect example. If you were a cell phone manufacturer, Nokia, track the South African blogosphere for 6 months. You can then draw out a list of the top 10 bloggers by volume who said the most stuff about your brand in the most positive way. You can then approach that niche of just 10 people and say, hey, dudes, happy to give you a free phone. Write about it, don't write about it. Don't ever pressure a blogger. Let me tell you that. That's a bad idea. And you've got in your hands 10 people who love your brand, want to talk about it, want to engage. And then they can just expand out to a huge audience. And that, I think, is the big opportunity with online reputation management, is turning fans into evangelists. And web PR is very similar to PR, but in an online context. I think the main difference is that the ego PR doesn't work as well. Putting a press release in a newspaper that says, hey, we're the greatest, and we rock, and we're awesome, and we're fantastic, and people just read it or ignore it. You do that online, they're one click and gone. You need to offer value in your online PR. So, for example, if you're a hotel chain, instead of writing a press release about your new hotel or the upgrade or fancy-pantsy, you write a value content article, as I would call it, top 10 tips when visiting South Africa. And that article will be syndicated all over the place. People will read it. They'll think, hey, that's awesome. That's very interesting, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can go and click on this hotel brand at the bottom. Head off to their website. So it builds brand, it drives traffic, and it generates links into your website. So that's one of the hugely beneficial aspects of web PR. But also in that, I would include things like social media, engaging people online through social networks and what have you. Email marketing, as I mentioned before, I really feels quite strongly that it shouldn't be used as a customer acquisition tactic. I really hate the idea of building an email list and just bunging out messages to it. I think probably the most common question that gets asked when someone fills out a contact form on our website is, I need to buy or rent a list. Do you have one? Can you do one? And I'm not interested. There are lists out there to buy. I just don't want anything to do. I think it's unethical. I think and also it's generally ineffective. The most effective email campaigns are the ones where you've got a relationship with the people. You're sending them value, and in exchange you're getting attention. I've got a bit of a rule of thumb when it comes to email newsletters, and we use it on our own newsletter, www.quirk.biz, right-hand side, subscribe, thank you. In that we have to be 95% value, 5% sell. We have to have that 5% sell. We're a business. We have to make money. I don't believe in businesses operating as charities, as Tim will agree. But if you're 50-50, people will just lose interest. I want people getting that newsletter and opening it and reading and thinking, wow, this is great content, and oh, look, I can buy some stuff. But it must be subtle. I really believe in that.